Craft Brewed Sports Cincinnati Style is brought to you by Minuteman Tickets. Football season's in full swing, basketball season is here, and there's only one spot you should be heading to get your tickets, and that's Minuteman Tickets. Look, everybody, we love Minuteman. They're Ohio guys, they're sports fans, and they're not going to screw you over like other ticketing places. It's not just football or basketball either. They got it all. Baseball, hockey, theater, rib cook-offs, it doesn't matter. Hit them up, MinutemanTickets.com, or give them a call at 614-943-3000 and avoid all of the fees. Tell them you heard about them right here on Craft Brewed Sports Cincinnati Style.
Craft Brewed Sports Cincinnati Style is also brought to you by More Labs. Drink one bottle of morning recovery while you're partying and bounce back quickly the next day. Guaranteed. Go to morelabs.com and use the code SPORTS at checkout for 20% off your non-subscription purchase.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Craft Brewed Sports Cincinnati Style. I am Mike. With me as always is Scott. No Joe today. Scott, you want to pick up the baton? How you doing?
Good.
What it do, baby?
Oh, that baton. Joe's got two batons. I had a 50-50 shot, and I screwed it up.
Good's the regular. That's
Yeah,
the normal weekly show.
Yeah.
What it do, baby, is the Cincinnati Style. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got an awesome show for you today. We are going to recap the Crosstown Shootout. Cincinnati is once again blue. We are going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk this whole Patriots scandal and them filming the Bengals. What's going on with that? I'm utterly shocked and appalled that Bill Belichick could stoop to such levels.
For the first time ever in recorded history.
I cannot believe that he would do something.
There was one coach that I would think that would not go as far as cheating. It would be Bill Belichick. Good Lord.
We're also going to talk UC football and the disappointment. UC fans had a rough week, man. Real rough week. Rough couple of hours. I mean, it was all within a...
Sucks to suck.
And we're going to talk about the city of Cincinnati losing, thanks to Heritage Bank Center and the fiasco going on down there.
2019, the year of the L in Cincinnati.
We will get to all of that, plus, as always, the end of the show.
Doing that hockey.
We're going to do that hockey.
Yeah. If it ain't your favorite part yet, it's going to be soon. Because it is easily our favorite part of the show.
It is definitely my favorite part of the show because, man, when you do that hockey, first of all, do you think there's anybody that breaks down Cincinnati Cyclones hockey, period? I don't even know. I mean, maybe there is. Maybe there's
got to be a Cyclones podcast out there somewhere. There's podcasts for everything.
Well, that's a good point.
So there's got to be a Cincinnati Cyclones podcast, but nobody breaks it down like we do. I can guarantee you that.
That's a good point. That's fair. That's a fair point. All right, well, let's jump right into. Normally, we start off with some Bengals talk, but that is not the
headliner
this week. We know what it is here as two Xavier fans, two Xavier guys. It's the shootout, baby. In the clip,
and zipped them up at the end of the game.
There we go. They did zip them up. Thank you for that. Well, yes, Xavier went ahead, zipped up UC. What did you think watching that shootout, man? Like, I know we talked about last week. I was a little nervous going into it because I thought Cumberland was going to come in and ball out, and I didn't know who's going to be able to stop him. But when it came down to it, like, yeah, it stayed close for a little bit, but that game was out of hand quick.
Yeah, I mean, it was never really in doubt after, the first part of the first half. I mean, after that, Xavier took the lead, and sure, the score said it was close, but from then on, they pretty much ran away. And after they came out at halftime, I mean, talk about halftime adjustments. Good God. And Travis Steele talked about being able to see it, like, in the guys' eyes. Like, he knew going into halftime, like, they were going to come out like men on fire. And they did. Like, the second half, it was almost like a completely different team. The first half was more of the team that we've seen this whole year where you're like, all right, they're good enough to win, but it's going to
Right.
be ugly, and there's a bunch of these ill-fitting parts, and you're like, oh, why aren't they performing better? And in the second half, you're like, oh, that's what it looks like when they all put it together.
Yes, we finally saw like a complete half from
Yeah.
Xavier. Like, when we see a full 40 minutes, it's going to be impressive to see a full
Right.
40 minutes from this team. But
Well, and I mean, they have played a full 40 minutes, but it's just been against, teams that you
Garbage.
expect them to play against full 40 minutes.
no, but they only did like once. That's
Right,
literally
yeah,
the
this
one
whole
time.
year. But,
Right.
If they put it all together, I mean, this team can play with anybody in the country. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. Because of the state of college basketball and the fact that, they're recruiting with all of the best teams. I mean, there's no...
How you doing, Mac?
Yeah. There's no reason that this team on any given night, if everybody shows up, they can't hang with and beat anybody. I mean, and Coach said after the game that it sometimes feels like they're 0-10, even though they're 9-1. But he just said that in terms of they haven't really put it all together. Like they've struggled and they've not looked great. And there's times when it's like, well, you're gonna have to do certain things if you want to get better and beat real teams. And so it totally makes sense that he would think that it seems like that, because as fans, I know I know it doesn't feel like that they should be on 10, but it's like you look up and you're like, wow, how is this team 9-1 based off of how down on them I've been at certain points just throughout individual games. Well, it's like, God, they look so awful.
The reason why is the competition that they've been playing has not been great. I mean, we talked about it before. The out-of-conference schedule for Xavier is pretty much crap. The UC game was the out-of-conference game outside of the tournament, and
right, yeah.
And then the one team that they played in that was like the marquee name in Florida, they lost. So it's very, as a Xavier fan, it feels very much like fool's gold this at this point in the season. And hopefully as we get into the conference schedule and you start to play against some Big East teams, you can kind of see a little bit more of how true this team is.
Well, and I mean, we forget too that they did start off the season ranked. I mean, preseason rankings or whatever, and
Right.
who knows what what it all means. Like, and none of it really matters until March. But I mean, it's a team that on paper, at least nationally, people thought, well, it's a top 25 team. So,
Right.
I mean, we did quickly forget that, because it's like, oh, they went from, they had that first week where they fell down in the polls, and then, they held steady, then lost to Florida, and then they're completely out, and now they're back in the top 25. So who knows where they are truly. But I do think that at the end of the season, they'll for sure be one of the top 25 best teams, but it's just like, where are they going to fit in that top 25?
Right.
They could fit anywhere in that top 25.
But we talked about it on this week's show on Wednesday, is like, who knows what this season is going to hold, because this is such a strange college basketball season already.
Right.
It's
A
not
month
even
in.
Christmas, and we've already seen top teams get beat by unranked teams like
consistently
4 times.
Right.
Evansville beating UK, Stephen F. Austin beating Duke, like
Penn
Louisville,
State beating Maryland.
Yeah, Penn State, and then Louisville going down to Texas Tech. Like, it is a crazy season. And you mentioned on our show this week, like, this is that season where it feels like, okay, this could be the year that Xavier breaks through. Like, if anybody could do it, why not Xavier?
Well, and just speaking from a specifically Xavier position, they've had the past, ever since we were there, each year, for the most part, there's been a few years where it was clear that they probably weren't going to do anything, and then they fell short. But they've at least come into the year where you think, all right, one of these years they're going to break through, and all Xavier fans are asking for is that Final Four appearance.
Yeah, just one.
Because, I mean, Elite Eights a bunch of times, plenty of Sweet 16s, and they're just knocking on the door and can't quite open it, and have been like so close so many times. And on paper, this isn't even like their best team, but because of the state of college basketball itself, you're like, well, this team has as good a shot as any of the teams in the past, 15 years or so to be the ones to finally get over that hump. And especially if they can all put it together like they did in the second half.
Well,
of this
and
game.
that's what it seems like with Xavier. It's always that team that it's like, they're okay. They seem like they're okay. that's the team that like
Yeah, I know,
has
that's
a
the
deep
team
run.
that, ends
like
up
when
doing
it's like,
that, right.
man, this team is sweet. They can do it. They get knocked out in the first weekend. It's like, oh, great, thank
Yeah, all right.
you.
I don't
We're
need
fighting-
reminders of
We're
that.
fighting for a number 1 seed, and people are like, this could be the first number 1 seed to lose in the first weekend. It's like you.
And then they're right.
Oh, do you remember that when we had the dude on that he wrote the article for Sports Illustrated that said
yeah,
Xavier
yeah.
was going to be the first number 1 seed to lose, and we called him out on it, and he came on the show, and then that night, that was when the number 1 seed went down to
That was
16.
Virginia. Yeah,
Yes.
Virginia lost.
He
But then
was like-
Xavier went out a day later. So
Right, yeah. He was like, at least he was cool about that. He was
Right.
like, I just had the wrong team going down to 16. Looking at the stats from the shootout, Xavier just, I mean, they didn't look overwhelmingly good in any specific category
except for Najee Marshall.
except for Najee.
Najee Marshall had himself
balled
a night.
out. That dude put his name on the shootout.
Right. Tied a career high with 31.
But like looking at the 3-point
Career high 5 steals.
man, well, and that's the other thing. So total turnovers, UC had 17 turnovers in the game, which is that's definitely not something that you're going to get away with against a team like Xavier. But that 3-point shooting, again, that's going to come back to haunt Xavier throughout the season. Like it's going 30%.
You read the internet wrong. UC had 22 turnovers. Xavier had 17.
Nope, they had 22 fouls. You read the internet wrong. They had-
Hey, what's that over there? Crap. I'll let you drive. I'll just sit over here in the passenger seat.
But Xavier goes 6 for 19 from behind the arc. The only good thing about that was UC was worse, going 6 for 24. So it was just like one of those games where it's like,
I have thoughts
man,
about that,
nobody can
though.
hit it.
One, Xavier always seems to be pretty horrific at threes. Like, they may
But
have
that's
one
gonna
guy.
hurt down the
Right,
road,
sure.
right?
But then that's also the state of college basketball. Yeah, you didn't really take out, like, Villanova, who always seems to have, like, 3 or 4 guys who are just amazing marksman shooters from anywhere on the floor. But the, like, college basketball as a whole, it's always just a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
At 3-point shooting. Like, it's just a league full of guys who all think they can shoot the 3 and none of them really can. Or you've got like maybe 1 or 2 per team. And like I said, and then Villanova, who always managed to have 4 guys that you're like, why can they all shoot? Like, why are they the only 4 college basketball players that can shoot in the entire country? And somehow they've all been put on one team.
The one thing that kills me is with the performance, like Xavier clearly, like you said, they came out in the second half. It was a totally different team. That's when Xavier built the largest lead that they had in the game. It was a 14-point or 16-point lead. Like they were on fire. Tyreek Jones hit the dunk, put Xavier up by 16 points, and then that's when Xavier went into a shell and let UC back into the game. Like this could have been a total blowout. There was about 12 minutes to go. It was the under 12 timeout, and that's when you started to see UC creep back in, and it became a little bit more of a game. It still never felt like UC was going to come back and win it, but it was like, dude, you got to, like, don't take your foot off the gas at this point.
Right.
And then, you know, obviously it finishes up with a decent win for Xavier. So looking ahead for both of these teams, you know, and we joke with UC fans. Clearly, we are Xavier guys, but I'm never one to like hate on UC. When we were,
I don't really. That's the thing. Neither of us being native Cincinnatians,
right?
I just have never really felt like that hatred towards UC. Like I'll poke fun and obviously want to win.
I'm gonna claim
Right.
the shootout.
Obviously
win.
want to win the shootout or whatever. But other than that, like I don't have any ill will towards Cincinnati. I mean, they're fine. It's whatever. And
right.
They don't directly compete except for the one game. Like they're not in the
Exactly.
same conference. They're generally not recruiting the same guys. Like you never hear of, oh well, it's coming down to Xavier and Cincinnati. Like they're recruiting 2 different types of guys for the most part. I'm sure there's been some guys that maybe are deciding between the 2, but the local guys generally haven't been for the past few years like the super name guys. Like it's not like, oh, it's Mr. Basketball Ohio and he's either going to go to Xavier or UC.
Right.
So I mean, there isn't really anything other than this one game where you're like, oh, okay, they're directly competing against one another. So for me, it's like, yeah, it's nice to win, and now I won't think about UC again until the tournament.
And I want them to do well. Like, I don't have a problem if UC does well.
I mean, I don't want them to do well. Like, I'm not rooting for them, but I also, again, I won't think about
You're
them
just
again in the
totally
tournament.
indifferent.
Yeah, like if the
You
tournament
will think
come,
about them because we'll be doing Cincinnati style just about every week. So you
Sure,
will be thinking,
yeah, I mean,
you'll
more
be following
so-
UC way more closely this
more
year.
so than I ever have. But just in your average year, it's like, oh, cool. So now we're a tournament, and I just kind of expect them to be there too. Like,
Right.
That's part of the reason why I don't pay attention to them, because it's like, all right, well, they'll be in the tournament, whatever.
Lose the first weekend.
Right, yeah. Lose before they get to the Sweet 16 like they always do, and then, it'll be another classic UC year.
I do have to
But-
say, with Steele and Brandon as the coaches, I'm really looking forward to the shootout going forward. Like, these two guys, since we've been there, we've never had the experience where it's like two brand new coaches. Like, Steele's in his second year. These are still two
Right.
fresh-faced coaches to the shootout. Like, we have the opportunity to see
grow into
Yes,
this rivalry.
It's going to become, I think, a bigger rivalry than what most people, feel like in general.
Yeah, over the next couple of years.
But I do have
But
to
then
say,
again, Xavier's won 8 straight now at Cintas Center.
yeah. Well, and Xavier in general has been pretty dominant in the
They've
shootout
won, what,
recently.
5 of the last 7?
Something like that.
6 of the last 7? Something
It's
crazy
been-
like that.
It's been a lot.
I put it in the doc. What was it in there?
Oh, you put it in there? Oh,
Yeah, I
look
did.
at you doing
I was going to say, I'm going to put it in there. They won 5 of the last 7. Okay, yeah, I was right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty decent stretch for either school, regardless of venue or whatever. That's about as dominant as it gets in this rivalry.
Right.
So, but it'll be interesting.
That's
now,
all
but
going to change now that Mick's gone, because I feel like that was
Sure.
that was what was holding UC back.
Right.
was
Well, and
big
now
ol-
you've got
big
with
old
these
Mick.
these 2 new coaches, you've got one for Steele
Mm-hmm.
and 0 for Brandon, but Steele's also 1-1 because he lost last year.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves and grows with the coaches.
So there's 2 things that I wanted to get to before we stop talking about the shootout here. Number one is we just touched on this rivalry is like, it's a rivalry for a game, and then it's kind of, and outside of the city of Cincinnati, people don't really care. But what I found interesting was there was so many UC fans tweeting after this game that they don't care about the shootout.
That's a lie.
Exactly, right? That's just
Because I would
we
say
lost,
the same thing
so-
if Xavier fans said that. That's a lie.
Right, you
Like,
do care
Again,
as much
don't
as you
care
don't
about what the other team's necessarily doing day in
But
and
you
out.
wanna
But
win
I was
this
gonna say,
game.
but the game itself, you care about. It's just like the Michigan-Ohio State game for the individual fan bases. I mean, I still maintain that no matter what, it's bigger to Ohio State, no matter what they're doing,
Right.
win or lose, up or down. Like, they just seem to take it much more seriously. And I mean,
Can
living
we
up,
start
living
stop
up in
using
Toledo,
the letter C during shootout
No.
week?
Yeah, U and C. Yeah, can't use U and C. But it means a lot to Michigan fans. Like, even
Yeah.
still, when you say it's like, sure, it might mean like, it probably means slightly more to Xavier fans than it does to UC. But for UC fans to say that they don't care, yeah, that's just because you've been losing a lot recently and it's sour grapes,
Right.
And you're lying.
And it's like, no, this doesn't really, we don't really care.
Yeah,
But
if
but
you were the
know
ones that won
damn
5
well-
out of 7, that you'd be pumping
Exactly.
your chest out about it, right?
Exactly. So if you're a UC fan and you're trying to pull that card, don't even play. Like, you
And just in any rivalry game, like, just don't do it. Like, it's a rivalry game for a reason, because
Right.
both sides want to win.
right,
Like,
exactly.
For either side in any rivalry game to just pretend like, and it's one thing to say, well, we're down, so it's like it means slightly less because that specific year. Like, UC fans might be able to do that, like, knowing that this year was going to be a little bit of a step back. Say that this
First-year coach,
particular
right.
this particular shootout had less juice for them. But that being said, had they won it, oh man,
dude, it
the
would've-
amount of crap
yeah.
they'd be talking, like, the pressure was kind of on Xavier because they
Right.
had the better
You
team
had
on
to-
paper.
yeah, exactly.
So, certainly.
Exactly. The other bad look for UC fans after this shootout happened. A story that went national. Travis Steele, after getting the W, rolls up to Dana Gardens, the big time bar here on Xavier's campus. Shows up with this kid. His kid slaps $1,000 on the bar, buys everybody in the bar drinks. It was videotaped.
It was
went
dad's
viral.
$1,000 though. We're just gonna make sure we establish that the kid didn't have $1,000.
I don't know.
cash
Maybe he
on
did.
him.
I'm not making it. That was not.
I mean, that's a
clarified.
lot of lemonade.
Could have been the kids. I don't know what he does for. I don't know what.
What he does for a living?
I was about to say for a living, but
Color?
I meant chores. What do you do for a living, kid? I put in work. But Steele shows up with $1,000. His son puts it on the bar. He buys everybody at the bar drinks at Dana's. Real funny story, and you mentioned it this week on the show. It's not the first time a coach has done this from
Right.
Xavier. Xavier coaches have a tendency to do this. It became a big story because, one, there was a video of it happening, and two, it was his kid that put the money on the bar, which was like
Right.
baller move. Here's a fat stack of 20s, son. Slap this up here. UC fans on Twitter decided to start ragging on Steele, talking about bad parenting and, oh, this is illegal. He went into a bar at 8 o'clock at night. Like, they're making it seem like he showed up at 1:30 at last call and was like, last round's on my son here.
Not only that, the kid didn't have a scotch in his hand when he did it.
Right.
Like,
They
it's
walked
all like
in,
a cute thing. Like he's just
and
doing
if
it.
you watch that video, Steele talks to one of the bouncers, like when he first gets there, he's on the patio, and you see him like motion to his son. So it's almost like he was like, hey man, is it cool if we come in for a second? I got my kid with me. And the guy was like, yeah, absolutely. Cause it's a family bar. Like, especially on the shootout, Dana's has families go hang out, eat food there.
Well, not only that, I mean, obviously the bar, it wasn't as if Steele was like, hey, I'm bringing my kid in. Can you serve him too? Like
He wants
I mean,
a Herschel special, tall.
Right. He wasn't asking this. This is like, hey, is it okay to bring my kid in? Of course, they're not going to say no.
Right.
I mean, even if it had been 1:30.
So what's worse? What's
again,
worse?
that's sour
UC
grapes.
fans talking trash about Travis Steele's parenting skills, or UC fans saying that the shootout doesn't matter?
The shootout doesn't matter.
That's the worst take.
Yeah, even as a parent, you can judge me on that, but don't tell me you don't care about winning. You lie.
You lie. Well, Cincinnati is blue for another year. But let's go ahead and talk a little UC football, because that was the other. Let's just get all the pain out of the way for UC fans.
What was going on at the same time? They
was-
overlapped.
Right. It was right there. Apparently the audio isn't playing. Without Joe here, everything falls to hell, man. It all goes to crap. Anyways, so the AAC championship, part D, UC versus Memphis.
Back-to-back weeks.
In Memphis again. UC falls in that game, unable to get the W. So now UC.
The old adage about beating a team twice not only doesn't hold, it didn't even hold for like a week. Like, yeah, you can beat a team twice. You can apparently do it all within a 1 week span too. Like, sheesh, man. I know that Memphis was 10-point favorites, but still, like I thought UC would have done a lot better.
Right,
Like,
absolutely.
I thought they had a legit shot, because again, it's like it is really hard to beat a team twice, but it's even harder to beat them twice in the same week. I mean, and then they're going there like they just saw everything. Like, there's no surprises for either team. It all comes down to who's making plays, and it's like, I mean, I guess that means that they're that much better than them, but they were similarly ranked and everything all year. Like, it wasn't as if Memphis came in as some big time powerhouse. So
right.
beating a team twice in 2 weeks, I mean, that's impressive for Memphis.
It's
And
very impressive.
Very unfortunate for, UC to
Especially
go from.
with the timing, because
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you took 2 back-to-back L's off the season you had, and everything was right there for the taking.
And if you look at it, that game was at 3:30. Like, they played that AAC championship game at 3:30, which means the end of that game coincided during the shootout. So you watched, like most UC fans, I saw dudes at the bar, they were watching that on one TV and the shootout on another TV. So you watch your football team lose, and then you're like, okay, well, shoot, we're down 16 already. Good Lord. Well, this is going to be a rough night, fellas. Like,
Yeah.
tough loss for UC. And again, whatever. UC, good luck. I
definitely
care.
don't have anything against. In fact, their football team kind of was rooting for them, just the way like this season, especially the way things had gone for them.
The only good thing for UC fans is I think this solidifies that Luke
Fickle's
Fickle was,
staying.
he's not going anywhere.
No,
He'll
that's
be
good.
back.
Yeah, had they won out and played in a big time bowl, you'd be pretty nervous.
Because did you see what happened right after this game?
I did
Like
not.
immediately after this game, it was announced that the Memphis coach is going to FSU. Like immediately.
Oh.
Norvell got hired at Florida State. So like,
Wow.
it was like, congratulations on the AAC championship. And he was like, thank you. By the way, I am leaving. I am going to Florida State.
And
He pulled-
in a parallel universe, had that all been UC finishing out and winning both of those games, you could see Luke Fickell doing the exact same thing. 'Cause
Absolutely.
wasn't he rumored early
He was,
in the year?
yeah. I mean, Fickle's a name that keeps getting tossed around
Right.
because he is doing very well at UC, and he is a guy that came from a big time program.
And don't get us wrong, he could still get offered a job. Like there's still
Right.
going to be a job.
Still a lot of coaching
but
carousel
it just
to
it
come.
one of those things where it's like you feel a little bit better if you're a UC fan about the possibility that he sticks around. Like
Yeah,
it weighs it more heavy.
I
on
think he's
going to
be back
versus
next
leaving.
year, but
Right.
it definitely. I think if he had solidified a New Year's Six bowl, it was more than likely that Fickle was gone this
Sure.
year. But the fact that they didn't, and instead will be at the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl.
What?
Yep,
The Ticket Smarter?
that's what I said.
What is that?
I don't know. It's a bowl game.
Oh my
apparently.
god!
Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. They will be playing Boston College, 6
I
and
mean
6.
Boston College.
Yeah, BC baby. BC. UC should wipe the floor with Boston College.
Right.
There is literally no way that I see UC losing this game, and I see a lot of UC fans online who have been talking about what a slap in the face it is that a 10-3 UC team has to play a 6-6 Boston College team. But bro, that's just bowl tie-ins. Like, you can't be upset about that.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry that that's how it worked out, but that's your tie-in. You got to go. That's where you got to go.
Yeah, I mean it does suck. I mean,
And also, I mean, let's face it, this is an ACC conference that was really down this year.
Sure.
So the two best teams in the ACC, Clemson gets a college football playoff bid.
And
So
the
that
second
means
best team,
Virginia gets to go to the Orange Bowl, even
Right.
though they're not
that
good.
good.
But
Yeah.
they were the second best team because they got waxed by Clemson in the championship. So now you've got a bunch of crappy teams in the ACC that it's like, well, pick a name out of a hat to go to the next bowl tier, I guess. Like,
Right.
whatever.
like on paper, I mean, this could have been if you were like a third play. You know, it could have been a matchup against Miami if Miami hadn't, shat the bed most of the season. And then when you're looking at that matchup and you're saying, oh, well, UC gets to play, the U, like that's a much sexier matchup just based on names and all that.
I think what you got to do as a UC fan is you got to look at this as, granted, it's a 6-6 Boston College team, barely bowl eligible, but it's still a Power 5 team. Like,
Sure.
hang your hat on any win over a Power 5 team you can.
Well, that and no matter what happens, if it's a slap in the face or whatever, assuming you win the game and you finish the season 11-3, like that's nothing to
Right.
That's nothing to poo-poo.
Be
That's
proud
nothing
about
to be,
that.
ashamed of or anything. Because I'm guaranteeing you, if we had said at the very beginning of the year, hey, UC fans, you're going to go 11-3. I'm not going to tell you how it shakes out. We're just going to say you're going 11-3. 100% of them would have taken that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they were not supposed to go 11-3 this year. So, I mean, is it a slap in the face? Sure. But, it is what it is, and you just take it and build upon it and go forward next year. I mean, all you need to worry about is the recruits out there who see that they finished 11-3.
Well, and that's and the other thing that people like, and as a Notre Dame fan, I'm getting this a lot from people who are like, should they even take the bowl invite because Notre Dame's playing?
Has
in
a
like
school
some...
ever turned down a bowl?
Yeah, there's been schools that do it, but
they?
but it's
That's
stupid
real
too.
pretentious.
It's stupid too
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, the bowl game has nothing to. It's all exhibition.
Right.
All you need to do for this bowl game is look at it as extra practice time for your young kids.
Sure.
That's all it is. Like, who cares what happens in the bowl? Nobody's going to remember what happened in the Birmingham Bowl except for BC and UC fans. Those
It's
are the
extra
only
practice
ones.
time, and it's another chance to get in front of, you have no idea who's watching, what recruit is
Also,
watching that.
This bowl game is on January 2nd. The Birmingham Bowl isn't
There
like
you go.
But like everybody
So
kind of
eyes will be on it.
right. The first is that delineation of like anything before the first is a garbage bowl. Who cares?
Right, yeah.
Anything after the first
Except
is like,
for the
okay, that's a bowl
the,
game.
the semifinals, those games, those bowl games.
Oh, that's right. That's the 28th this year. That's
The
right, I
28.
forgot.
So taking out the semifinal games, like everything else, all those other
every
bowl
game,
games,
yeah. Every
because
exhibition
I know,
game.
but those are still bowl games,
Yeah.
even though they're
every
not.
exhibition bowl game before
Right.
the first, people are like, whatever.
Every .com bowl.
Right. Every Ticket Smarter. Oh wait, I can't believe it. Ticket Smarter. I don't
know what that is.
I don't know either. I know they're probably not as good as Minuteman tickets.
I can guarantee you they're not as good as Minuteman
And
tickets.
Minuteman tickets is the way to go. And
The
you should
premium
go
ticket
hit them up,
place.
MinutemanTickets.com, or give them a call, 614-943-3000, and avoid all of the fees. Anyways, let's talk. Let's go into a little Bengals stock here, because the Bengals really screwed me over this week, bro. They really screwed me over this week. Hitting that field goal with 12 seconds to go to cover the spread, lose by 8 to the Brownies.
But they did exactly what we thought they would do. They looked competent. We figured, they're gonna lose because it's in Cleveland, but and they didn't get blown out. It wasn't as if Cleveland ran away with it. I mean, coming off of the first win, it was a respectable loss.
They looked all right. They looked good. I just
No,
really
I was
wish.
just saying, like, I know what you're worried about. I get it. But I'm just saying, just on a whole, when you're talking about, we said they're probably going to lose because it's on the road. Can they keep it close? And then do they look like completely inept? Like, was last week a complete fluke? Or, did they have, and I feel like they passed the test. It's like, all right, they lost. It was close. Move on to the next one.
Are you looking at this as more of, hey, the Bengals are moving in the right direction, they're building on a win, they're looking okay? Or is it more the Browns are in total disarray right now, and that program, as the expectations that they had coming in are crashing and burning, and what a crap show that is. Freddie Kitchens should be worried about his job.
I really do think it's both. I mean, because the Browns have been a total disappointment. Probably the most disappointing team in the league.
Really
Next
disappointing.
to them and the Cowboys would have to, are battling for most disappointing. Eagles are in that conversation, too. I mean, all three are teams that people either put in the playoffs or, in the case of the Browns and the Cowboys, were Super Bowl contenders coming into the season just based on paper and who they have on their team. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a disappointment, but I mean, if you're the Bengals, you can't worry about what they've not done based on projections. So the fact that, again, had they come to this game where you'd be concerned if you're a Bengals fan, or where you're just like, all right, well, was last week smoke and mirrors, is if the Browns would have housed them and would have just beat the crap out of them. Would have been like, well, here's a Browns team that we don't think is all that great and who has been underperforming, but they were able to just completely dismantle the Bengals. So if you're a Browns fan, you're like, geez, we barely beat the Bengals. And if you're a Bengals fan, you're like, oh, good. We barely lost to the Browns, and we're supposed to lose to them on the road, cover the spread. So, I mean,
dude, that's what was surprising. As mad as I was that the Bengals kicked that field goal to lose by 8 and covered the 8.5 point spread and forced me to throw at the dartboard in the degenerate dartboard of doom punishment, I looked it up and I was trying to figure out how the Bengals have done this year. They're 5-8 against the spread.
That's pretty.
It's
decent.
not terrible.
There's a stat. Now it might have just been something that a buddy of mine. We were sitting out having drinks one afternoon. He looked it up, and he looked up the Lions the year that they went 0-16 against and to see what their record was against the spread, and they were something horrific. I think they were still 2-14 or something like that against the spread. So they were truly 0-16 bad. And then who else went 0-16 recently? Was it the Browns, or who was the other 0-16 team?
Yeah, the Browns.
Yeah. And but the Browns were something like they were horribly unlucky. Where it was they were something 7-9 or something against the spread. They were not as bad as being 0-16. And I think there was another one that he had looked up. So it's just Bengals are somewhere in the middle of that, where it's just they're clearly not as bad as the record indicates.
And
they're not a good team by any stretch,
right?
Because they got a lot of blowouts.
And that goes to show you how that's proof positive, because all of those games that it was man, we had a shot. Going into that last drive, we had a shot, and then Dalton threw that pick, or all we needed was one stop, and the defense couldn't get that stop, or man, Seattle,
whatever
just,
it was.
Yeah, like there was just so many instances this year, and I feel like that's going to go down. And maybe that is a blessing for the Bengals, because I feel like if this was a year where those balls break the other way and the Bengals aren't sitting here at 1-11 and first round pick.
I know. Could you
and
imagine if they
instead
were
they're
5-7?
Right, middle of the pack. They're going to get they probably take an offensive lineman somewhere in the mid round, first round,
Sure.
but it's not an impact player, and the team just sort of mires in mediocrity. Like this could be a blessing in disguise for the Bengals, because the team is showing that they're not as bad as this record indicates. They're right there, and just a couple things break the other way.
We knew that, though, like kind of like just based on the eye test. Everybody wanted to say, like,
the eye test. We're going to go in a college football playoff committee here?
Yeah, we are.
Ooh,
we're going to go. We're going to go Bengals committee here.
They're ranked number 3 this week.
But I mean, it was the reason why I said I didn't think they were going to go on or winless. I mean, one, it's very hard to go winless. I mean, it's not happened that many times.
Yeah.
But two, I mean, when you watch the games, like, sure, there were some that were completely out of hand and were over by halftime and then never had a chance, and that's just what but look at the names of those teams. The Ravens, the Niners, like teams that are like the best in the NFL right now and what they're doing. They're competitive in all their other games. I mean, okay, the Steelers got them on that one, but division rivalry. And then the second time they played them, it wasn't as embarrassing. Like, so, I mean, there was evidence there that when you're just watching the games and looking at how they're playing, and then obviously they started Finley, which I still maintain was an odd choice.
And man.
We'll look back on it and think it was even more odd, because I have a feeling that 2 years, maybe 3 max. Ryan Finley's not even a part of this team, so it was just like, yeah, that was just.
I mean, let's face it, they're likely taking Burrow number 1. If they got
sure,
that
but I'm saying
I
don't even know that Finley's like backup material.
That's what I mean. Like he's gonna get
saw.
traded away, and they're gonna pick up somebody else as a free agent.
Oh, I mean, they could, but I think Finley will be on the team next year. Like I mean,
he'll be on there next year,
because especially you're talking about you're getting rid of Dalton, so it's like he'll be around. So like. You probably have
they start
3.
Burrow next year, or do they start Finley and let Burrow?
Oh no! Because it would be second year for Finley, and he showed you nothing.
Right, but so you just throw a rookie in there with no real help. I mean, I guess you see what the line does, and
I mean, unless you're worried about him taking his lumps, like if the line looks shaky, and you're just
or is this
we're just gonna
rebuild?
let Finley, we're gonna let Finley take the lumps, like, and then
right.
start
That's what I mean. Like it's a 2-year rebuild. See what happens. Have another crappy season next year.
But
another high
the way the
pick.
NFL is now, I mean, can you imagine this city if they're like, yeah, we're going into the season with Finley as the starter, and they drafted Burrow?
You thought there were some boos earlier this season,
right?
Oh,
man.
And
I mean, this city. There's been empty seats galore. You think the Brown family is going to be like, yeah, sure, just let the guy we drafted number 1 overall sit on the bench? Like, no, that's going to be one of those decisions where it's like, hey, coach, do whatever you want, but you're starting Joe Burrow.
Right.
Like, I mean, no questions asked about it.
By the way, speaking of coach, my mom texted me during that game because my family's all Northeast Ohio. They're all Browns fans, so they were all watching that game. My mom texted me and she goes, "What's wrong with your coach's hair? I think it looks fine."
Oh, snap.
He did. Zach Taylor looked on point this week. He finally got a cut. I was like, "Mom, take a look at this picture." I sent her a picture when he was like yelling about the where somebody gave up on the interception and he was trying to say it was a safety and he had like just off. I was like, "Look at this." She was like, "Yeah, you're right. That looks bad." All right, so we move ahead to this week. We got the Patriots this week coming into town, and the controversy swirls. We don't expect the Bengals to win this game. However, now the entire universe wants the Bengals to win this game. Not only, I mean, I feel like most people wanted the Bengals to win anyways, just because F the Patriots.
Sure, I mean, everybody outside of Boston generally wants the Patriots to lose every week.
But now, because of Spygate 2.0, we have a whole nother situation of the Patriots filming another team in an attempt to gain an advantage.
But denying it.
With an excuse that they provided to people during the initial Spygate. Like, that's the craziest part about it, was ESPN reports like, oh, by the way, when they first got caught, they told the people
the exact
hey,
same thing.
If you get caught, say you're trying to film a story for the website. And then here they are going like, nah, we're just filming a story for the website. Like everything points to this being the Patriots are cheaters and dirty and whatever.
And getting caught doing it, I mean, it's just so poetic. Getting caught doing it against the worst team in the NFL
yes,
record-wise.
exactly.
Like,
and that's
what are you doing,
like,
man?
And the story where everybody's like, why would you do this to the Bengals? It's not why would you do this for the Bengals? It's you are clearly doing this for every team.
I was just gonna say,
it is
like,
happening every week.
This
is the one you got.
I was gonna
caught
say
on.
this is solidified that they do this on a weekly basis.
Right, and that's why like everybody who is playing this off as, well, if this was any other team, this would just be a byline and the story would be over. But
Right,
because
no.
it's the Patriots, no, it's because you use this excuse. And you did it against the Bengals. Like you're clearly doing this ever. Yes, you did it to the Chiefs. The Chiefs. I guarantee. Freudian slip there. You did it.
The cheats.
The cheats. No, the cheats did it to the Chiefs. Like clearly, you have done it every week.
Sure. No, and I mean it's a really bad look.
Real bad look.
And I mean, the NFL's trying to play it safe. You know, we're not going to jump to conclusions, or we're going to investigate this and yada yada. But you know, last time nothing barely happened. What were they? Docked like a second round pick or something stupid like that.
Yeah, something
like,
that big.
man, but like people thought, oh, they're gonna get the hammer, and then it was like pretty much they got off
Right.
pretty easily. I mean, the second one, right? Like you got to drop the hammer, right? I mean,
You have to.
And I
You
don't even
have to.
know what the hammer is, but I mean.
This is unprecedented. Like this is a
Getting
story
caught
that-
cheating the same regime twice now, and this is the second time, or is this the third time? Because I mean, we had I'm thinking, all right, my bad. This is the second time that they've been caught cheating with video cameras, but
yeah.
they've got Deflategate on their record
Right.
too. So I mean, there's now 3 different instances where you're out here, trying to skirt the rules, or it appears that you are. I mean, you cannot have that. And you're the premier franchise in the NFL.
The
You're
dynasty.
like, I mean, it's really bad.
It's a real bad look.
Like, I honestly, this is the one time that I guess is like, I wouldn't want to be Goodell, because it's like, well, what do you do, like, for the second time? Like, again, this is unprecedented. You haven't run into teams that have got cheating or attempting to cheat or whatever, the appearance of cheating, multiple times now. It's like, what the hell do you do?
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea how you handle this. But I do know the Patriots are absolutely going to run the Bengals out of the stadium. Like,
Yeah.
it's about to be ugly.
Well, and that's the funny part. They could have run them out of the stadium without doing
They didn't
this.
have to
So
do
it's
that.
so
Yeah.
weird that they're like that insecure. The worst 10-3 team of all time out here videotaping a team that was winless 2 weeks ago. Unbelievable.
Let's talk some Reds.
This one belongs to the Reds.
Real quick on this one, there's not much development in terms of MLB trade rumors or what the Reds are doing. However, the Reds were rumored to be in talks or like interested in Madison Bumgarner, and now that Strasburg is off the
Your
market,
boy Gregarious is gone.
yes,
we talked about
Didi,
that. He signed
yes,
with the
Didi,
Phillies.
for a year
is
deal.
really weird.
Very strange.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that.
The
happened.
only thing I can think of is that he wanted to do one of those reset the market type deals because he was hurt this year with the Yankees.
yeah,
And so
right.
that, his numbers were off just a little bit from what he had done the past 2 years.
But that's why I don't understand why you don't go back to the Reds, because the Reds would have paid. Like, they would have paid a premium for Gregorius.
Well, and it makes sense. Because if you're Gregorius, I guess he was smart enough to. People said and people thought that while he's with the Yankees, yeah, he might be a good hitter, but is some of that inflated because of the short porch there? And
so
you
come
know,
to
and let the-
Cincinnati, bro.
Well, but funny enough, he found himself a short porch either way. Because
Right.
Philadelphia,
That's true.
same
Yeah.
thing, where they've got that short porch. And I mean, the fact that it was coming down to those two teams and he's on a 1 year deal makes total sense. Because it's like,
Right.
well, if I want to do this 1 year deal, I'm going to go somewhere else where I can also have these numbers where being
Yeah.
a pull hitter and being a left-handed hitter.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna-
now you're gonna have a
Or I
good
guess I was
year,
right.
and you're gonna price yourself out of Cincinnati because Cincinnati's not gonna be able to afford him.
Sure, we ain't
So-
worried about that. Like, I mean,
that's-
he's just going for biggest deal now.
That's a fair point.
Everybody out here trying to get that Garrett Cole money.
But because Garrett Cole gets signed for $345 million over 9 years, Strasburg had, what was Strasburg's deal? It was
I
like
don't even
close
remember
to
because
300.
it was over 300.
It was over 3.
He set the record at 32 a year, and then
And then
Cole broke
gets
it with
signed
35
yeah.
a year. So
yeah, Strasburg was like, "Come on, bro."
Yeah.
But because of that, Madison Bumgarner, the other big high-priced pitching free agent, it was rumored that the Reds were interested. There's no way you can match this type of money now. So
right, because he's
kiss
not
that
going
one
to kiss.
goodbye.
Well, because he's not going to come close to those two because he just hasn't been at that level for the past couple of years. He's slowing down. But he's still a name. He's still going to get some stupid amount of money that the Reds
Right.
aren't going to be able to afford.
So basically, the Reds, I don't really see any other moves at this point because everybody that the Reds were rumored to be targeting are now off the board.
No, there's one other name, and it's another name that, again, it's like I think won't end up signing until after things kind of settled, is Marcell Ozuna. He's still been
Yeah, but
rumored.
Ozuna's been now rumoredly tied to every other
Well,
franchise.
right, but
besides
the
Reds.
thing with Ozuna is you're gonna wait till Anthony Rendon signs, you're gonna wait till Josh Donaldson signs, and then you're like one of the best ones left. So he'll just wait till the bigger guys are signed, and then he can sit back and see who still kind of needs the bat. And so the Reds, I would say, are still in the conversation with Ozuna. It just the only thing is it's just going to be, do they want to play the waiting game? Do they want to wait and risk? All right, well, the other two dominoes fall, and then we're in a bidding war against the other teams that miss out on those other two.
Right.
So that's the problem you run into with that. Is like if you don't move aggressively on Ozuna now while the other two are still available, you risk losing him to somebody else because he'll get a better offer or whatever. So, but then, if you're Ozuna, you also have no incentive to sign before those other two. So it's like a catch-22. Like,
Right.
what do you do? And so like you said, there's not that much that the Reds can do. They can wait, or the only other option is to make some type of trade for somebody else. Like, because you don't have to wait for trades. It's only, trades are however aggressive you want to be. And obviously last year that was kind of how they revamped everything, was they went all in on trades. Don't know how much juice they have left in the minors to make any bigger type
and honestly,
trades.
I'd rather
So-
them not do that.
Oh,
I'd rather them
no,
not
for
trade.
sure. That's not the preferred way to go, but I'm just saying, like, if they're going to make a move before all the other dominoes start falling, it could only be through trades. Like, no other moves that they could make for anybody else would move the needle. So
Yeah. Well, as of this recording, it is being reported that the Reds are still showing interest in Ozuna. As a matter of fact, John Heyman is reporting that the Reds and Ozuna's camp have been in contact within the past 24 hours. So there is still some heat, but like you said, it looks like Ozuna's just going to sit back and wait for Rendon and Donaldson to get signed and then set the price at that point.
Right.
Also, I didn't even think about this, but the MLB trade rumors also says one of the big reasons why Didi went to Philadelphia is because of Giraldi being in Philadelphia now.
Yeah,
so
well,
he's
he said
reunited.
that he wanted to go there because of Girardi. That was another. That makes the 1 year deal still weird.
Very
It's
strange.
like,
yeah,
well, if you want to play for him that bad, why would you only sign for a year?
because I don't really like him that much. I just,
Yeah. That sounds like a afterthought excuse. It's like, well, why'd you sign for Phillies? Well, I actually
Joe's
really
there.
like Joe, so it was an easy choice.
Yeah, Joe. I forgot about Joe being there. Yeah, right.
Tell him Joe.
But the Reds were rumored as a runner-up in that one, so I guess they were close, but not close enough. Pretty much like the Bengals all year long. Let's do that hockey, Scott. It is time for let's play that one more time. Yeah, it is time for everybody's favorite segment of the week. This is where Scott does that hockey and talks about the Cincinnati Cyclones and gives us an update on the Cyclones. Everything Cyclone, really deep, in-depth analysis about the team, where we stand, what we're looking at. This is where Scott is able to break down hockey in a way that only Scott Kaiser can do. So, Scott, I will yield the microphone to you. Do that hockey.
They won one and they lost one since we last recorded. So they're playing 500 hockey. This is the last time we did a show. Hey, you want to check it out right now? Like, while we're recording, they got a game. It might be over. I don't know. It started at 7. So let's see what the Cyclones are doing right away. Let's give you up to the minute stats on a Friday show that releases on Friday but was recorded Wednesday. So you already know, if you give a crap about
Peek
the
behind the
Cyclones,
curtains.
what's happened.
Oh,
and
snaps!
they won tonight, 3-2. So in
Take that,
between the last
Kalamazoo.
time we recorded, they have gone 2-1 in that time frame.
Killing
And
it.
if you're listening to this when it's released on Friday, it is officially Star Wars weekend for the Cyclones. Make sure you head on out. Head on down to US something arena,
Heritage Bank.
which we're about to talk about that story. I know, that's why I brought it up. It's like the stadium that has no name or kind of has a
Way to
name.
transition out of hockey.
Right.
Well, I'm
No,
proud of you
real
for
quick
that
though.
one.
Star Wars weekend this weekend. They've got those Star Wars themed jersey that'll be going up for auction afterwards. Play two
We
different
talked about
teams.
it last week. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to really do, so we've done that hockey more or less. I still can't pronounce that goalie's name. I can guarantee you that. Not even gonna try.
I'm not gonna lie. That's the most disappointing doing of that hockey that I've seen on this show.
I
But
know.
That's fine.
Well,
That's fine.
It's unfortunate because again, they only played the 2 games, and then the Star Wars weekend, which we talked about so much last week. Well, there's really only so much we can talk about it this
Anything
week.
coming up?
I know.
here?
Unfortunately, the
There's
themed
nothing
weeks
really.
are kind of running
New Year's
out.
Eve fireworks. They're doing fireworks against the Swamp Rabbits. What?
That's a solid
What a
name, though.
Name.
Swamp Rabbits.
Yes,
I
that's
like
a
that.
fantastic name. Did we mention them when we were talking about
I don't
like?
think we got that. I don't remember that being brought up.
I feel like I would remember Swamp Rabbits.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't remember that.
Dude, they're doing
the old
teddy bear
teddy bear
toss.
toss is coming after the first of the year.
That's always a solid time. And then Marvel Weekend.
Marvel weekend. Now we're gonna go nuts for that.
Peek ahead.
Look at, and that's 3-day weekend. So the Star Wars weekend, where we said, oh, they don't need to do any like themes for more than one night. Now they're doing one that lasts 3 nights versus the Star Wars nights 2. They're blowing it out for
Well,
Marvel.
I mean, it's Marvel Weekend, so
Right.
yeah, you got to do that. We'll talk more about Marvel. Let's not shoot our load over Marvel Weekend. Let's
I was gonna say, we
like
don't wanna-
mid-January.
We don't want to talk too much about it, and then Marvel weekend comes. Like, all right, well, we talked about Marvel weekend a month ago.
Yeah, that's Cincinnati style episode number 15 or 16. Like that's what we'll get to that one. But all right, let's talk Heritage Bank Center real quick because we are running a little long tonight. You mentioned this earlier, and I hadn't seen the story until you brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
But Heritage Bank Center, formerly U.S. Bank Arena, was set to host some NCAA tournament games in 2022.
Yep.
Is that what it was?
2022.
And the NCAA announced today that they are yanking that from Cincinnati. They're moving it to
Moving to
Indianapolis. They're like, hey, by the way, Cincinnati, yoinks, we going to take this.
We're going to the same place we've been for a bunch of years, Indy.
Heritage Bank Center.
Boom, Rendon to the Angels. There you go. Reagan ran out. So there's one of those dominoes we just talked
Come
about.
on, Ozuna. Come on,
Which-
baby.
He only signed for 7 years for $245 million. That's a great deal
That's a
for the
steal
Angels.
for the Angels. So wait, the Angels now have Rendon and Trout.
And they still got Pujols. Pujols is still there on his 10-year deal that he signed eons ago. I think you're coming up on the end of that, though. Like, it's like,
That's one you got to cut.
One or
mate.
two.
It's time to let him go.
sure.
He'll end up in Cincinnati.
I was just going to say farewell to her. Got to cash those lives. I mean, because the guaranteed money, but I mean, he'll still be playing ball.
Right.
Farewell to
There's
her.
no way. I mean,
Bring
he
him back
can-
to the NL Central.
He can never go NL. He's got to go. He's got
gotta
to
stay in the
AL.
AL,
Yeah, he's got
yeah.
to stay DH. Anyways, so Heritage Bank was like, listen, we'll make these upgrades, but not all of them. We'll like add some locker rooms and like give you some hospitality
Right.
suites. And the NCAA was like,
No.
nah, we out.
Which is really weird because they announced it earlier this year that they were coming. But as we
It was
talked about in between the
2017.
two,
I read after you.
Was it?
Yeah, in between shows tonight, I read.
There's already been
2017 was when the NCAA agreed to coming to Cincinnati.
Right, that was when they agreed, but that announcement though didn't come in. Wasn't that just earlier this year though? Because I feel like it was
possibly,
only
I
made
don't know.
official this year.
Yeah,
Because this is
this
one of the
is-
few stories that I actually like paid attention to at my job.
Yeah, this is apparently from Cincinnati.com. They said the
Okay,
the
yeah,
city
they
of
won the
Cincinnati won the
bid.
bid in 2017.
All right.
But where else are you going to host it in Cincinnati? You know, it's not like, oh,
Sure.
yeah, you're going to come to Cincinnati and we're going to go to Cintas Center. No, it was clearly going to be at U.S. Bank Arena.
Right, but I'm just saying they won the bid to host, but they
Or
didn't.
Heritage Center.
Right, but they never announced it, though, is what I'm saying. So it's really weird that
Right.
even though they won the bid back then, they announce it, and in the same calendar year, didn't even get a full year with the announcement. They're just like, nah, kid.
That was going to be Cincinnati's first time to host an NCAA game in 30 years. We have not hosted a tournament game in 30 years.
Here's how bad that is. Dayton has it more together than Cincinnati. Think about that. Think about the fact that UD has hosted all of those, even if they're the play-in games.
Four,
yeah. I mean, they still have those official NCAA tournament games in Dayton, and yet Cincinnati can't update the arena, we'll call it, because God knows whatever name it's got, but they can't update the arena well enough for them to host a damn game. Like, that's kind of pathetic.
Awful. And I know they wanted them to make upgrades. It was like $200 million in upgrades that they were looking for, and it included new locker rooms. Because if you think about it, with a tournament game, it's not just the 2 locker rooms.
Sure.
You need multiple locker rooms for these dudes.
Don't get me wrong, I get it that it was a lot of money they were asking for, and it was like, in this city, when you're talking about money and stadiums, all that. And I mean, that was the hang up when they made this announcement. It was like, well, where's this money going to come from? Because the taxpayers are done, footing the bill for all of these like stadium upgrades and all that other stuff. So that was taxed out, but it was just like, that's why when it happened, when they made the announcement, I laughed. I was like, there's no way they're going to get that money. Like, why bother even announcing it? And if you're the NCAA, why weren't there requirements before you even made the bid?
Well, and you made the point, like, why do you agree to this with one side of it being like, no, we'll go ahead and make those changes for you. Like, we're not ready now, but we should be by 2022.
But then not even committing to them for longer than, the 6-7 months or whatever that they made the announcement official.
Very strange. And, in typical Cincinnati fashion, we're going to go ahead and blow that. But at least Garth Brooks is coming to town. Right?
And Maroon 5. Hit that DJ air horn.
Oh, that's right. Maroon 5. No, we're just going to get out of that one.
That's a showstopper, baby.
I forgot Maroon 5 is coming to Cincinnati.
Where are they coming?
I don't know. Probably Heritage Bank Center. They upgraded.
Maroon 5 is like, we're canceling this show because y'all didn't make the upgrades. We needed 3 locker rooms.
We got 5 guys in this band. We need 5 locker rooms.
At least 2 for Adam.
Adam has a whole entourage. He's got his own thing, so he needs to be the
his
rest
tattoos
of the band.
need one.
The guy with the hair has his own locker room. It's whatever.
Oh, good
They
times.
still play their old stuff. Does Maroon 5 still play their old stuff?
Don't they have to?
I mean, I feel like they would have to, but can you imagine Adam Levine trying to play that old stuff now?
Yeah.
Like trying to sing She Will Be Loved and then following up with whatever BS Maroon 5. Whatever. Anyways, this has been a really fun Craft Brew Sports.
We did that Maroon 5 this week.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow the show at Craft B Sports. You can follow Scott at ScottyK_Jr. Follow me at Mike Burlon. You can follow Joe at JoeGoalie4. Tell him never to miss a show again because I can't do this without him. Text the drunk line, hit us up, leave a voicemail 440-37-DRUNK, whatever you want. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Share the show, help us out, subscribe, rate, review. Cheers, everybody.
Peace. We out.